Well, things seem fairly calm here for weather across the U.S. as we've gone through the weekend and now starting this new week ahead as we're racing towards Thanksgiving and Christmas and the end of the year. However, we're still watching some dryness concerns in Brazil that a lot of folks in agriculture are paying attention to. We're going to talk about all this and more. Joining us now for a look at weather across the country and around the world this week, Eric Snodgrass with Nutrient Ag Solutions back with us. Eric, always good to talk with you, my friend. And as I kind of mentioned, the weekend pretty quiet across the U.S. Got some warmer temperatures, not a lot in the way of precipitation overall. Pretty decent weekend for mid-November.
Yeah, I mean, the rain actually fell in a couple of places we really needed it, like along the Gulf Coast and out of Texas. I mean, if you look at a drought map of the United States, the deepest drought we've got is in Louisiana, Mississippi. So to see moisture getting into that area makes me pretty happy. Those folks are really hurting down there. But this upcoming forecast, yeah, it's going to be more mild weather across the Midwest and across the central United States. Very mild. In fact, we might have
Mhm.
temperatures 30 degrees warmer than normal this week in parts of the plains. And but don't settle on it. It is November, and I think the second half of this month has something a bit different in store than the front half, and it's going to start in California. There's a cutoff low going just to the west of California, and that's the one we got to keep an eye on. And then what follows it could get a little blocked up over Alaska. Anytime you shove heat into Alaska, you're going to displace whatever is there to come our way. So I'm going to tell you, enjoy the warm week, enjoy the drier week. We do need the moisture to get back into the midsection of the country. It's been one of the driest starts to a November on record in the midsection of the United States, but it has allowed folks to finish harvest. Just kind of limited, I think, some of the expectations on fall field work that we'd hoped for. So yes, we are in kind of a bit of a transition time period. El Nino's kind of helping kick things along a little bit, certainly strengthening right now, but it's the changes coming in the next 60 days I think will be most critical.
Well, and you and I have talked here in the past month or two about this kind of week on, week off type pattern. And, that's we've kind of been adhering to that, haven't we, here in the US the last month or so? Just we'll have temperatures go up, temperatures come back down a little bit. But then to your point, watching for more of a potential of a pattern shift here as we get towards the end of the month and start December, Eric.
Yeah, so I'd have to amend my statement. Some of it was week on, week off, but like then we went 12 days with just nothing. And so I'm like, all right, I give up. I don't think the atmosphere cares that we have a calendar.
You were
But
you were
yeah,
close. You were close, generally close. So I'm gonna give it to you on that one.
good. I appreciate that because sometimes they need a bigger hoop to shoot the basketball through, I think. But you know, um, overall, what I would say is this next 7 days. I mean, we don't break away from it. So we have to wait until this feature comes out of California, and then we just
Yeah.
dislodge all of this colder air that's kind of trying to build up in Alaska. But it appears as though next week could really be the recipe to get that going. And so as we approach Thanksgiving, I'm expecting substantially colder air to come through the Canadian prairie in the west. It is going to kick off a system we think in the midsection of the country next week. So when we talk next week, it will be about a big low that could be rolling through the midsection of the country. We need it. I mean, the Mississippi was going up, and then
Mhm.
it said up, no more rain, and it just stalled out and dropped back down a little bit. And so there's going to be some change coming to the end of this month. I still am expecting two big systems before we finish the month of November, and they could really dump in quite a bit of moisture if they manifest themselves the way we're thinking. So yeah, but be prepared. Use the warmth while it's here this week. Love every second of it because it's not going to last long.
Yeah, we'll keep our eyes on that. We'll talk more next week and see if any of those systems impact our Thanksgiving travel and much more. All right, let's talk South America, Brazil. We saw over the weekend looked like more temperatures over 100 degrees. What's the latest you're seeing there?
Yeah, I'm seeing heat. I was just looking this morning. The probability, the chance of getting over 100 degrees Fahrenheit this week is like 80 to 100%. And it's hitting the north central growing areas, which have been very, very dry as of late, while flooding continues in southern Brazil. Now,
Hmm.
we do have a bit of a trend, day 7 through 10, picking up some more moisture in that area. And if that doesn't happen, then we go past the point where this becomes a concern and starts to really degrade yield quality and forces a lot of folks to replant. So you've seen the same data I have. We watched the production, or excuse me, the planting numbers drop off pretty substantially these last 3 weeks. How much of that crop has to be planted basically tells us what's going to happen to their crop calendar. Are they going to push deeper into the season to harvest this first crop, forcing later planting of the safrina. That's going to be a big story. And don't forget, Argentina's still having problems, right? So it's super dry north and really hot. And then we got central Brazil, like central southern Brazil, forgive me there, that's super wet. They're expecting 4 to 8 inches of rain again in the next week. And then Argentina keeps getting a taste of this. Like the Parna River's full, but not decent rain in Argentina. In fact, I just looked in Cordoba. They've had two decent rainfall events this spring. Both of them are under 10 millimeters. I mean, that's like a trace. I mean, that's nothing. They need a whole lot more rain down there. But the heat that's coming on this week, I have a feeling a lot of folks are going to watch it, watch it, watch it. And then if it breaks, I hate to say it, but it seems like it'll break for the downside in the markets rather than the up,
Mhm.
based on the way I've seen the markets behave as of late. But the Amazon is still low. The Panama Canal is still low. Even there's decent moisture trying to get into that area, and we've got some significant issues in Central and South America going forward.
It just kind of feels like that this week is that tipping point, so to speak, where if issues persist beyond this week in Brazil and Argentina, then this that's where we start to really get concerned about their calendar getting messed up because it's still quote unquote in that early stage right now. So this is kind of that critical week, Eric, isn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think everyone is. I think everyone is in this prove it mode. What I mean is like prove it that there's really a problem, because you got a lot of talking heads like me saying, "Hey, look, look, look! There's there seems to be an issue," and we kind of just are, let's run up the flag and say there's some problems. But the reality is, we did the same thing in the Midwest in May and June. We're like, it's dry, it's dry, it's dry. It's not hot, but it's dry, it's dry. What's going to happen to yields? And you and I talked. We're like,
Yeah.
if, and then I got guys in Illinois. I mean, I haven't met an unhappy farmer in Indiana yet this year, and then I
Mhm.
got guys in Illinois that have just hit yields, and even the problem areas in Iowa. I mean, there was guys in Iowa saying we lost it. This was terrible, especially northeastern Iowa. They roll the combines here and they're like, okay, it was not great, but it wasn't terrible. So that's where we are with Brazil.
Yeah.
You got folks that are going, all right, there's been problems, but they can move at speed down there. They'll get a crop replanted if it needs replanted. And what if December comes in great? What if January comes in
True.
great? All of a sudden, people are like, "Hey, remember when you were gawking about all the like what happened to that?" And I'm like, "Well, just in time rains, which is what you brought up."
It's something that needs to be watched. We're gonna
Yeah.
leave it at that. Eric, before we let you go, any other issues around the world you're watching, whether it be Europe or Australia or anything else that you're keeping an eye on this week?
Sure, decent rains in Australia this week for a lot of growing areas. That's uncommon during an El Nino, and this El Nino continues to exert its influence. It's there, it's growing. We expect it to peak in about 60 days from now, and then start to fade quickly. Europe's got a really active storm system coming through this week, a few of them. A lot of questions I'm getting is what's going on in Iceland, and if they have a massive volcanic eruption, what does that do? Because remember the last one that hit the Tonga eruption east of Australia. I mean, that one we're still talking about the effects of that over the next decade, putting all that
Mhm.
water vapor in the stratosphere. So yeah, there'll be some. I think I actually think by the time you and I talk next week, we're going to have a new set of things to be discussing. And if something changes in this pattern this week, it will be top of mind for anybody that's knee deep into this weather market.
Well, we will look forward to that conversation coming up here next week. And in the meantime, folks can find the latest weather details ag-wx.com. And they can also sign up for your weekly weather newsletter. With that, Eric Snodgrass from Nutrient Ag Solutions. Always great to talk with you, my friend. Have an awesome week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, sounds good. See you then.